it would appear that ActionSA has signed its own death warrant. Before we get on to the main news story, ladies and gentlemen, over 50% of our audience is unsubscribed, so if you haven't already, click the bell and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd really like to support the work that I do, you're welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below. So before we get on to the main news story, let's get to some news that you might have missed. The first is that Solly, the head of the South African Communist Party, gave a speech in which he described the ANC as forgetting its alliance partners and siding with non-entities like the PA. You can see the clip here yourself.
The ANC is a consequence that now they even respect all non-entity political parties, including this party of the PA. They have more respect that party than they have to its or to their own allies. They listen more to the DA than they listen to its allies. For instance, we can put it on the table here. We did discuss cabinet. We rejected this minister taking over education. We were not listened to because the deal was made. The DA stayed and said they bargained hard. Yes, the following day after the announcement of cabinet, he came out and said, we bargained hard and we are represented in 12 clusters of cabinet. No single alliance partner here can say we are represented in all clusters of cabinet. We participate in good faith that the ANC will take our views across the board into consideration. They don't do so, but they do so for the DA. It's high time that the ANC learn to respect its allies and the masses of this country. Amanda!
Now the problem inevitably becomes that Solly tends to forget something. The South African Communist Party is not on the electoral ballot. What it is actually a parasite on the ANC. It piggybacks on the ANC's vote and then claims to have got voted into government, even though it didn't. No one voted for the South African Communist Party. They voted for the ANC. And as Fikile Mbalula says, the ANC is not the South African Communist Party. So how it sits there and says that the ANC has ignored its alliance partners and they're more important than people that actually get the electoral vote, one has to ask. But you see, this is a typical fashion with communists that have been aligned with the governing party for too long. The parasitical relationship has now become one where the parasite actually thinks it's the governing party. It's not. Talking of parasitical relationships, let's move on to the news that the South African police minister has, thanks to a question submitted in Parliament by Razim Zamzi, confirmed that over 400 police guns and nearly 13 rounds of ammunition were lost or stolen in the last 6 months between October 2023 and March 2024. Now, why exactly is this fact really important? Well, you see, of those 400 firearms, 371 of them are still missing. 350 of them are pistols. 12 of them are R5 rifles, that's military grade, and 5 of them are R1 rifles. 4 are shotguns. Now, many of these were stolen from police officers directly, either being mugged of them or stolen from their vehicle. The problem is, according to Gun Free South Africa, it's all private citizens from where the guns are stolen. And we keep telling you that they're lying. And here's the proof. They're lying. These NGOs are just liars. Talking of liars, let's move on to Bekesele. Do you guys remember the 2021 protests? I mean, mostly peaceful protests. I mean, Durban riots. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Remember how we were assured that there were like 10 instigators and they'd all be dealt with? Well, I mean, there's 20 people currently in court, and the case itself is now threatening to collapse because these 20 individuals don't have lawyers. Last time I checked, that's not how criminal justice works. If you don't have a lawyer, you're assigned one by the state because you can't really have your case collapse because you don't have a lawyer. Now, 8 of these individuals actually face charges which include terrorism. It's a pretty serious charge. And some of the individuals actually say they just made comments on WhatsApp groups. They don't even remember actually giving Zuma their full support or even calling anybody to do anything. Unfortunately, what this means is that the advocate who's representing 4 of the accused actually claims that it's very likely the accused are going to get off and they're going to be acquitted. And it does actually look like that may be the case. So why exactly is this important? Well, the only reason it's important is because Bekesele misled the public, telling them he knew exactly who the instigators were and they'll all be dealt with. The reality is, nobody knew who the instigators were, and nobody's going to be dealt with. In fact, some claim that the actual instigators are now in Parliament as head of the MK party. But I, for one, I'm not going to say. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. But on to the main news story, and that is, Cilliers has actually been voted out of the Suwanee mayorship, thanks to ActionSA. So ActionSA calls it a victory dedicated to the workers. But ActionSA tends to forget that it was the actual deputy mayor in Suwanee. It's a bit like Kamala Harris, who says she's got a plan to fix the US economy when she's in power, even though she's currently in power, and she's not fixing the economy. It's almost like these people just talk rubbish. So Cilliers was actually removed with an overwhelming majority. The only people that actually voted against the motion of no confidence were the DA, the IFP, Freedom Front Plus, and the ACDP. The EFF, who were originally not given any time to talk, complained, and as per usual, were given their own way, who basically said, you know, the DA is a white supremacist party because the majority of people in Suwanee are black, and there's a white mayor there, and he's letting people down because of water and human scroll. Then everybody started chanting VBS, and then no one listened to the EFF anymore. Now, ActionSA actually says that the reason they voted for this was because of ethics and accountability, which must be the cornerstone of decision-making. He says the time for politics is over. They're going to work to eject toxic leadership, of which they were the deputy mayor of. Does that include them? Freedom Front Plus had a different take on it. They said that the motion was a disaster, and actually was a vote of no confidence in the government of national unity, which was currently working together for the good of the people. Freedom Front Plus said that ActionSA proved themselves to be unreliable in government. They claimed that the ActionSA claims that the DA is arrogant, but they themselves are arrogant. According to Freedom Front Plus, the party itself has infighting. Some agreed with the motion to remove Cilliers and others didn't. Freedom Front Plus also claimed that the ANC had infighting in his party, because whilst they were supporting the DA on the national level, when it comes through to Gauteng, Lesufi appears to be undermining the government of national unity and his partnership with the DA at every available opportunity, which is true. Those who voted in favour to keep Cilliers in his position claimed that the people of Suwanee will punish all parties who voted to remove him in the next elections. Cilliers himself says one of the reasons for the dispute was around not paying workers. Now you see, the problem is that according to Cilliers, ActionSA was actually involved in the vote to not pay these workers, and they voted to not pay the workers. It's kind of like voting to make a problem that you then use for a political game to remove somebody you don't like. And if you've been watching anything that Herman Mashaba's been saying on Twitter, you just don't like the DA. In fact, you just don't like anybody. So what was the upshot of all this? Many people are predicting that this is the death of ActionSA. I, for one, am going to agree. Everybody's seeing that ActionSA is actually an unreliable party, and let us not forget that prior to the elections, Herman Mashaba said the only goal of ActionSA was to remove the ANC from power. Now it's siding with the ANC. It's a bit like when Julius Malema said he doesn't like Jacob Zuma. Then he does. Then he's going to partner with him, but he hates him. It's amazing how quickly these people's political position just changes on a dime. So, why exactly did the ANC vote against the DA in Suwanee? Well, according to Helen Zille, they didn't. Only the Gauteng leaders did, because according to her, the actual ANC on a national level told the Gauteng leaders to support Cilliers. According to Helen, Panyesa Lesufi rules Gauteng, and he just ignores the national leadership. The other reason Helen cites is a betrayal of ActionSA, but that's a given. So what does this actually mean for the ANC going forward? Is it going to allow Panyesa Lesufi to undermine its national efforts in Gauteng? I don't know. Haven't got a clue. It appears that Panyesa Lesufi is just on his own little mission. But anyway, that's my view. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.